Hey everyone, welcome to the Wrestling Experience.
Where our episode ends 5 minutes early, but we got to fill in the time to get to the top of the hour.
I think maybe they should have added a commercial or two to kind of, fill that time slot because we love commercials, don't we?
Yo, huge fan of commercials, and honestly, I'm not sure why they didn't. That's actually a brilliant idea.
Oh my god, it's pretty funny. But hey, I'm Jazz,
I'm Johnny.
and we are here to recap SmackDown. Let's not forget that this is the go home episode of SmackDown for Hell in a Cell, where we have only 5 matches, so that's nice. I guess
Four, but then we get a fifth one this episode.
Yeah, so we are going to open up with the KO show. And before that, they actually tell us that we're going to get 2 segments that are confirmed. We're going to get something called the Tribal Consequences with Roman Reigns. And we also have the Miz Morrison trial, which is a spoof of Law & Order, which I've never seen Law & Order, but...
Neither have I, but I could tell from the theme song, the
Yes,
font,
the classic.
and it's called Law and Otis. It's definitely a spoof.
You're a smart man. So we do open up with Kevin Owens. He introduces his guest, Daniel Bryan. And Daniel Bryan is actually being really funny. He's like, I actually love your setup. And, it's actually just 2 computer chairs and...
Well, they're nice to each other. It's wholesome.
Yeah.
They have quite the history.
Yeah, so Kevin Owens actually thanks him. And he's like, you know what? He's like, I really appreciate you mentioning my name last week for, like the superstars that you wanted to face. Or you want to face in the future. Because let's not forget that Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan have wrestled before. And they always gave us great matches. But, they haven't wrestled in the WWE. They wrestled pre-WWE. Let's not forget that. So, obviously, if it doesn't happen in WWE, it never happened, right?
That's actually true. I was about to say, I'm like, I don't remember their matches.
No, well, I expected you to know that they did wrestle, but just not in the WWE. Did you know that Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins have also wrestled?
Absolutely. Of course. And they've wrestled in the WWE.
Also. But hey, so...
I think that's actually happened in WWE, but I could be wrong, but I think that happened.
Yeah, so Daniel Bryan mentions, he's like, listen, he's like, I just want to push SmackDown as the best wrestling show. Like, we already have the blueprint. We already have the wrestlers. It's just up to us now to kind of show that talent. And we already got the talent, like the big, we have Jey Uso and we got Big E, right? And... he talks about more personally, though, like he really wants to elevate the IC title. Like the IC champion should be able to defend his title every single week. And this is where I was like, oh my God, they're planting the seed. It's going to happen. We're going to get Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan with Kevin Owens sprinkled in there somewhere.
It's great. Yeah, he's about to interrupt and it's going to be amazing. But
it's beautiful. But actually, Kevin Owens invites him because... he wants to talk about championships, but it's not the IC championship that he wants to talk about. He wants to talk about the tag team championships. And he even has a name for them. What are they called?
Yeah, he suggests they could be a tag team, and their name could be Team Hell KO, but actually that doesn't make sense, as Daniel points out, because the Hell part is referring to Kane, and the No part was him, and so it's more like he's teaming with Kane. But then Kevin Owens is like, oh yeah, I understand. I'll think of a better name, but... we can definitely be a good team, he says.
Yeah.
Which sounds very interesting until Daniel Bryan points out that he has betrayed a lot of his friends in the past. So that kind of soured things a bit. But KO says, don't worry about that. Let's worry about how he's a new guy and everything. But before Sami Zayn can interrupt, and it's not Sami Zayn who interrupts. In fact, it's
so sad.
Rudolph. And not that I'm upset about that or anything, because I feel like that's great. They come out and they're upset because basically Daniel Bryan didn't mention how they were drafted to SmackDown, and they're like key superstars to the whole division.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a great tag team themselves. Quickly, right after the Street Profits show up and they want the smoke, they're also making fun of Rudolph for kind of being stuck in the 90s with their outfits. And then Cesaro and Nakamura come out, and they kind of just point out that they've been carrying the SmackDown division and they kind of got screwed out of the titles, which is not entirely false.
Yeah, but they've been carrying the Lucha House Party for the past couple of months.
That's a good point, too. They end up in the ring, and Daniel Bryan says, hey, KO, you want to test out your idea? And he wants to, and they start brawling. And then the bells are ringing for some reason. I'm not sure why that's happening. And you see Adam Pearce come down. He's trying to get order, but then it cuts immediately to a commercial, which I found very jarring, the way they did that. I guess this segment went on for too long. Yeah. And they're like, we need a commercial. Like, hurry up.
We need the breather.
So that's how it is. That's how it is. More commercials. We come back, and what do we get? An 8-man tag, player.
That's right. I'm somewhere Teddy Long is very, very happy. But hey, we actually will see Teddy Long. I'm sorry, I'm already excited to talk about the next segment. But hey,
it's worth. Yeah.
Let's get to the match. We see some great sequence from Kevin Owens and Cesaro. As per usual, like these two guys are amazing together, and the Street Profits they do their thing. I remember at one point there's an impressive double team move from the Street Profits where Dawkins just kind of picks up Montez Ford and he just kind of throws him in the air, and Montez Ford does, I have no idea how, but he hits Bobby Roode with a moonsault. But I remember at one point Daniel Bryan tags in and Daniel Bryan starts selling a knee injury, and I was like, no, Daniel Bryan, like please don't, like I was really scared that this was a legit injury.
It was very convincing. He was running the ropes. He goes up the corner, does his backflip, which you've seen him do every match, and he starts like selling the knee, and it looked very convincing. And then they start taking advantage of the knee, the bad guys, the bad team. We go to commercial, of course, and we come back from commercial, and of course that's still going on, right? And they did quite a few teases where Daniel Bryan like fights out, tries to get the tag, doesn't make it. Roode in particular does a nice job of like smashing his knee onto the mat and then punt and getting a cheap shot, as Michael Cole would call it, on I think one of the Street Profits. Of course, all this leads to the ending sequence where things are starting to go crazy. Daniel Bryan makes his hot tag. KO gets involved. He hits a stunner. It looks like Cesaro might pick up the win in all of this commotion when he rolls up Ford. Actually, sorry, no, he rolls up Dawkins, and he's got his foot on the ropes, but the ref notices it mid-count. This interrupts that pin, and this allows the Street Profits to kind of take over. Montez tags in. They double team, and then he goes for a big splash and picks up the win against Cesaro. But what's more important, I guess, is the fact that they all can't stop celebrating after the match. Ford was just like shaking those ropes, and I think Daniel Bryan got dizzy a bit too when he tried to hold on to the shaking rope, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was pretty funny to see Daniel Bryan kind of join in the celebration and do the ring shake. I thought that was a pretty hilarious moment.
He had a great time. There's going to be another segment a bit later where you can clearly see how much of a good time he had tonight.
Oh, for sure. But hey, we had a great time watching this next segment. I like that segue. So we have Law and Otis. Otis is representing himself, and we see Ron Simmons as the bailiff.
Yeah, and I guess who's the judge? It's JBL.
JBL, Wrestler's Court. This is amazing. Oh my god. So
this is great.
We have a rundown. The Miz is suing Otis for emotional distress, creating an unsafe work environment, and the Money in the Bank negligence. And The Miz gets up and he talks about being here for the truth. He pleads the case for the Money in the Bank briefcase, belonging to a true deserving superstar himself. Otis gets up and his statement is, well, I deserve the briefcase because I won. And then you hear the dun dun, like as if like it was like a big shocking like reveal. But that was a great argument by Otis, right? Like you can't really...
yeah, absolutely. Miz also had a lawyer, it's good to point out. And
who got fired?
Pretty much... she was about to present his argument until he's like, let me do it. And then after Otis presents his argument, she like mouths off saying, that makes a lot of sense, and gets fired immediately. And then we go back to Corey Graves, who's losing sleep over this because he really wants to know what the verdict is. But we're not going to find out just yet. We'll find out a bit later. But
we do get to see a great video package of Bianca Belair, and I was like, oh, okay, come on, like let's just kind of get her to the ring, and that's exactly what happened.
She comes out after. I was surprised. She actually comes out for a match,
and she's wearing SmackDown colors.
That's true. She's wearing white and blue. But of course, we got to cut to commercial, and then when we come back from commercial, we actually get another backstage segment.
Oh, beautiful.
The team that won the first match are celebrating. Daniel Bryan says, "Fist me, boys," which was very interesting. He was referring to like a fist bump, but everyone kind of took that the wrong way.
And Kevin Owens actually choked on his water.
Yeah, he did. For some reason, they all leave except Daniel Bryan is still there. He's kind of like happy. He's like, "Oh, this is great." And then Sami Zayn shows up, and now I'm excited because this is what we were saying. We were kind of denied this in the opening segment, but we kind of got it here. Sami Zayn's upset, and he says that he's the champ. He decides when and where to defend it, and he basically tells Daniel Bryan if ever he has any like thoughts about the IC title, he should just keep them to himself because he should keep all those visions to himself because Sami Zayn is in charge and he decides what to do.
Yeah, so great backstage segment, and like I said, I'm all in for this feud. But we're gonna jump back into the ring because Zelina Vega is out there, and she's going to be facing Bianca Belair. And I actually like this matchup because we all know their history in NXT, and we also know their history at the beginning of the year on Raw. Zelina actually slaps Bianca, and I was like, that's a big mistake because Bianca just kind of power slams Zelina, just again, like effortlessly, like just zero effort. And we get a shoulder tackle from her, a standing moonsault. Zelina at one point is just kind of holding on to dear life. She's holding on to the apron, and we get to see some unique kicking maneuvers from her, followed by a top rope Hurricane Rana. But Bianca just deadlifts Zelina, picks her up like it's nothing, and hits her.
Press, basically.
Oh yeah, basically, and she just hits her with a KOD, which I think is an amazing looking finisher.
The only thing that bugged me was she basically clean jerks Zelina, only to drop her on the turnbuckle for a snake eyes, then for them to use the kiss of death. I'm like, okay, all that like show, completely deadlifts her, presses her, just for a snake eyes. I thought that was a little underwhelming, but it was a nice match, clearly a one-sided, but Zelina got to show some clever offense, and she did work the shoulder, the arm a bit, but that didn't really play as much as I thought it would. Like, it came in really early. Bianca was kind of selling it, but then it didn't really do much, and that was a very quick match. And we get reminded that the Freak is up next. Because
we get reminded that Lars Sullivan is still a thing, and he's going to have a match.
Yeah, but not before a commercial break. But anyway, we come back from a commercial break, and guess who he's wrestling? He's wrestling Shorty G. And Shorty G is in the ring, and he's being interviewed. And it's like, why would you accept a match against the Freak Lars Sullivan? Like, I don't know, because it's his job. He's a wrestler. He wants to prove himself because he wasn't drafted. And the best way to do that is to take on the biggest and baddest dude. They keep telling us how big Lars Sullivan is. He's 6'3", 300-something pounds, and he likes hurting people. But I'm like, isn't that like the same size as Roman Reigns? Like, I would love to see Roman Reigns. Like, I don't know why I'm not buying the Lars Sullivan thing. I don't know. So this is kind of a squash match. Like, Shorty G tries to have some offense, doesn't really work out. He does rake the eyes at one point, and that's interesting because he's kind of still acting as a heel, and that allows him to get a little bit more offense, but it just kind of upsets Lars Sullivan. The best thing Shorty G does was like this rolling kick, which was super nice into the corner, and he goes for it again, but then Sullivan sidesteps it, and that's when he's able to like slam him and then use the freak accident and basically win the match. And there's a post-match interview, and they're asking how he's feeling, and he basically just says, I quit. And I'm like, I guess he's really excited about the Universal title Hell in a Cell I Quit match this Sunday, or he's actually quitting. I'm not sure, but it wasn't a very exciting match. Kind of a one-sided squash match. Nothing too special here.
Yeah, I mean, it had Lars Sullivan in there, so I didn't really expect it to be quite competitive. But we are going to jump backstage. We have a new backstage reporter. I think her name was Alice Ashton. Luckily enough,
she's new though. Yes, I mean she's relatively new. I don't think this is the first time.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Appearance, okay.
I'm sure our listeners are really glad that you mentioned that it's not her first, appearance. But she's lucky enough to get an interview.
Somebody leave a comment, please.
She is lucky. She is lucky enough to get an interview from Seth Rollins. Seth is livid at Murphy. His idea of fun is what he's going to do what he's going to do to Murphy tonight. He's like, he basically talks about how Murphy's emotions are tearing him apart. And
he's confused.
Yeah, basically. And, he kind of reminds that he's the Messiah. Murphy's the disciple. Seth is the savior. Murphy is a walk behind her.
Yeah, that's when I was like, wait a second. You mean he's a follower? Like, what's a walk behind her?
No idea.
Actually a thing?
But, I mean, they even mentioned that in commentary later. So I was like, I guess that's a thing.
And what I found bizarre was like he's talking about what's fun, but it's because the interviewer is basically like how she asks, well, how did you feel about Buddy Murphy joining in on the fun last week when you were getting beat up by Rey Mysterio? He didn't really like that. She was kind of sassy towards Seth Rollins. I don't know.
Yeah, pretty much.
The Messiah, the savior.
Yep. So basically, he talks about how he's going to define Murphy's role for him tonight. Next up, we have Roman Reigns, who isn't too impressed with the food from catering.
That's fair.
I guess that's a segment.
Like 5 seconds, like 5 to 10 seconds of Roman Reigns being disappointed. Commercial.
Yeah. Back from the break, Shorty G is in the trainer's room. Spoiler alert. Adam Pearce is there, and he's like, well, listen, I just wanted to see if you were okay, and I wanted to make sure that what I heard was correct. You're quitting. And Shorty G says that actually, I don't accept this Shorty G crap anymore. It's all a big joke. I'm tired of this gimmick. He doesn't say gimmick, but he's just tired of like the whole Shorty G thing. And Shorty G is quitting. And he's like, there's only one man that can achieve, what he wants. And that man is an Olympian. That man is, kind of a worthy person, and he talks about, all of his achievements, and he talks about how his achievements are so big, and then he's like, yeah, it's big. And I was like, come on, like that's kind of a juvenile joke. But, he basically says that his name is Chad Gable. So Chad Gable is back and Shorty G is dead.
Despite that kind of awkward part in the promo, I thought this was a very good promo, and I'm very happy to see Chad Gable back.
Yeah, me too. So am I.
The Shorty G thing was stupid to begin with. It was like, I don't know. I hope to see more Chad Gable. I hope that this is not, his descent into obscurity.
Yeah.
But we'll never know.
So we do have Bayley. She's in the ring, and she's kind of confused because instead of doing her 4 interviews, because Bayley is so popular these days, right? Like she's getting interviews left and right. Instead of people asking her about her historical reign, all they're asking about is Sasha Banks. And she talks about how Sasha is just she's an ungrateful brat and she doesn't deserve this title shot. And the last thing that she's going to do is give Sasha that title shot. And she kind of talks about how Sasha last week said something along the lines of her name is bigger than Bayley's title. And Bayley kind of mentions like, listen, your ego is getting so big, like your head is so big that it won't even fit inside a Hell in a Cell.
See, that's what I said last week. She undermined the title. You see, Bayley was listening, and she agrees, clearly.
Yeah, essentially. Sasha comes out, and Michael Cole is so happy because it's boss time.
Oh, and God, so excited.
Sasha is carrying the contract, and she gets in the ring, and she tells her to sign it. Bayley picks up the chair. She's about to hit her, but she misses. Sasha picks up the title, and she forces Bayley to sign, but Bayley kind of tries to one-up her, and she kind of tries to...
They have a war with the title.
Essentially, it kind of reminds you of...
Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar.
Yes, I was going to say that.
Sorry, I took it away.
Yeah, it's okay.
Thunder.
It's okay.
In the Thunderdome.
Yeah, Sasha kicks her in the face, and she wraps the chair around her head. And now Sasha has the upper hand. Bayley kicks her, but Sasha kind of puts her in a bank statement, and she puts the contract right in front of her. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So basically... Bayley's in between the chair. She's, Sasha's kind of holding her into a bank statement, and the contract is basically right in front of her, and Bayley has no choice.
How that worked out.
Yeah, so Bayley has no choice but to sign, and Sasha lets her go, and Sasha looks like she's going to murder Bayley at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, she literally says she's going to take the title and finish what Bayley started. This is going to be a very good match.
Now, what worries me is that Sasha came out looking strong in the last segment, and she's holding the title.
The law of reverse momentum. I'm telling you, dude, she's going to lose because she lost to the other 2 horsewomen. Why can't she lose to the third? Make the trifecta. It makes sense. No, she can't lose this one.
She can't lose this one because if Sasha loses, like, what's her claim to the title? Like, you know what I mean? Like, Bayley kind of beats her, and like Sasha's kind of in the back of the line. Like, Sasha has to win this. But
no, I expect Sasha to win this. Like, I'd be surprised if she didn't. But
yeah,
this is not a predictions episode.
No, it's not. It's not.
Or is it a spoiler? No.
Ooh. So we're back in the courtroom. Morrison is now on the witness stand. Poor Morrison. He's telling the sad story about how Otis scarred him, how Otis hurt him. Miz is actually even kind enough to offer him a handkerchief, right? Because,
Well, he was crying, the poor guy.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
He was very emotional. The emotional scars that Otis left were real.
Now, this is where things get even better. We see Rey Mysterio, and he talks about how, as far as he's concerned, Otis should be able to cash in the contract whenever he wants. He wants straight up, right?
Mysterio was in the match. He saw the whole thing, and he's not wrong.
Yeah, and now we have Asuka on the witness stand, and she's making.
And you know what? It didn't make sense to me why she would be on the witness stand, but then it did because she was kind of involved in the Money in the Bank at some point. Like, didn't the matches go on at the same time, and then they were kind of intertwined? So she was a very good witness, but nobody understood what she said, right?
She made such compelling arguments, and JBL actually asked the person, I guess the person who writes the notes, if he or she got any word of that. The camera pans to Teddy Long.
Teddy Long is the translator, playa. And he understood the whole thing, but he didn't tell us what she said, which was kind of weird, I guess. But Asuka was saying holla holla, so I guess that was so weird. That made sense. Tucker's turn. They're talking, and Miz wants to start using. He asked for permission to be hostile, which didn't work out in his favor because Tucker kind of points out that Otis has been kind of consumed by this whole thing because of Miz has been distracting him, and that's why he's not been focused on cashing in the Money in the Bank. And he kind of feels the same way, and he kind of gets up, and it looks like things are about to go down. There's a lot of yelling and screaming. JBL cannot even bring order in the court. It's up to Ron Simmons to kind of yell out and has everyone calm down. And that's when JBL says, okay, we'll take a short recess, intermission, and then I will come back and we'll have the verdict. And then Teddy Long has to pee.
Yeah, so now we're back from the break. JBL is about to give his verdict, and he basically talks about how Otis is a WWE superstar. Like, that's what we do. If what you think that Otis did is a crime, then the APA would be serving a life sentence right now. And while it's true that Otis hasn't cashed in yet, the rule states that he has a full year to do it. So after minimal deliberation, he has no choice but to rule in Otis's favor. But The Miz, smart guy that he is, has one more evidence, and he wants to present
Surprise piece of evidence.
That's it, and he wants to present it to the judge. So basically, like, the briefcase is handed to JBL. We hear a ka-ching sound, so we know what it is. It's a bunch of
bribe,
money.
Yeah.
And essentially, JBL is so money hungry that he rules in favor of The Miz, and he mentions that at Hell in a Cell, Otis is going to face The Miz, and the winner will get the contract. We even get a damn from Ron Simmons, and that's how the courtroom segment ends. And I thought that was pretty entertaining, and I'm really worried that they're going to give this to The Miz.
I thought about that, and I felt the same way. I don't think they would either. Like, I don't know. I mean, either way, I guess it'd be fine, but I would rather not have Otis lose this.
Yeah, same here.
That's for Hell in a Cell, I guess. We got our 5th match, boys. We're in. It's a 5-match card now.
Yeah, so now we do have Seth Rollins versus Murphy. I thought this match was really excellent. Like, I think it told a story. Like, while at the beginning I was like, okay, it's all right. Like, it's really slow. It did really pick up at the end. And what I liked about it is, like, the whole story is Seth Rollins is reminding Murphy. He's putting him in his place that I'm the Messiah, you're the disciple. He's slapping him around. We actually see Aaliyah, who's watching backstage as well. And
at a regular angle, too.
Yeah.
At a normal viewing angle. So clearly they're right, Mysterio and his son, when she's like, she's not cut out for this.
No, exactly.
She doesn't even know how to watch the TV properly.
Yeah, and we see her multiple times watching backstage. We even see Rey Mysterio and Dominic kind of coming in. They're kind of asking her like what she's doing. And she's like, oh, I'm watching Murphy. And basically, at one point, I remember where Murphy kind of had advantage, but he kind of hurt his shoulder. So he goes outside and he kind of tries to pop his shoulder back in. And this is where Rollins takes advantage. He hits a dive and hits a knee to the face. And he basically starts working on the injured left arm of Murphy. And Aaliyah's looking really concerned. And back from the break, Rollins kind of hits the buckle bomb. He's about to hit the curb stomp, but Murphy reverses with the knee, and then there's another curb stomp, but then there's another reverse, and then there's another curb stomp, and then he finally hits the, I guess the third time is a charm. Seth Rollins hits the stomp, and he wins that way. And this is not where it ends, because Aaliyah is backstage, and she's pleading to her family. She's like, well, we need to go and help Murphy. And we see Seth Rollins, he's still in the ring, and he has a kendo stick in hand. And Aaliyah kind of runs out and she's pleading to him, and Seth Rollins looks and he smiles and he's like, hey, like, where's your backup, right? Like, where's the rest of your family? And this is where he kind of gets a few shots in on Murphy. Those shots look really brutal, by the way. And Aaliyah kind of has enough and she kind of rolls into the ring and she's pleading. And this is where Dominic comes in. And, he's kind of like, Aaliyah, what are you doing? And this is, Seth Rollins takes advantage of that. He blindsides him. And Rey Mysterio comes out with a chair in hand. But Seth Rollins flees. And Rey Mysterio is checking up on Dominic. But Aaliyah is checking up on and feeling up Murphy.
Oh, she is. And
she's really feeling
at each other, and it's awkward. It's kind of awkward. I totally wrote that it's awkward here.
Yeah,
I just want to go back and say that the sequence to end the match with the curb stomp fail, roll up, curb stomp fail, and then Seth uses the shoulder to snap him back down to hit the third one was very nice. Mm-hmm. And Buddy Murphy hitting a Meteora and getting a lot of good offense with commentary really doing a good job of saying he's tired he is tired of everything and he's standing up for himself. I think Buddy Murphy looked really good here, and I'm happy to see that. And I just found the storyline, I guess, is somewhat interesting, this whole Mysterio thing, but it's a little awkward. But at least Buddy Murphy did look good in this outcome. So solid match. This was kind of our main event because the next segment is not a match. So this was what we got, and it was a really good one.
Yeah, and so now we have some dude knocking on Roman's door. Heyman comes out, and he's like, Roman is going to be ready when Roman says he'll be ready. After the break,
aggressively, according to Heyman.
Oh yeah, it was so aggressive. So after the break, we do have our last segment. Roman makes his way to the ring with about 8 minutes left, or I think 10 minutes left actually. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a very, very long segment, or I don't know, it's going to be a very long promo. But
it took him a while to walk to the ring, so I figured they would just puff that up and but it started going quickly after. And before you knew it was over.
Yeah, but before Roman is about to say something, we see Jey Uso, who's in the Tribal Chief suite, and he puts over the Tribal Cheese, he puts over the Tribal H2O, and he talks about how, Roman has kind of lost connection to himself and his family. But if you don't believe me, ask my brother Jay. He's behind you. And I'm like, whoa, what?
He was wearing a mask.
He takes off his mask.
On his mask.
Yeah, exactly. And it's Jimmy. So they used a little bit of twin magic. Vintage
Bellas.
That's it. Vintage Bella twins.
Vintage Bella twins.
Yeah. But essentially, we're back in the ring. Jey Uso, he lashes out on Roman. He grabs a chair. And he's about to lay it on Roman, but Roman kicks him. But then Jey kind of fights back, hits a super kick and an Uso splash. Jamie comes out. They're celebrating. And Roman gets on the mic, and he's not too pleased. He's kind of holding onto his ribs, and he's like, it's funny to you boys, right? Well, he's like, you don't understand, but I do. He's like, if you make me quit, I'm not the Universal Champion anymore. I'm not the face of the WWE. I'm not the Tribal Chief. I'm not the provider of our family. If you make me quit, I can live with that. But what about you? Because when I make you quit, you're going to fall in line. You're going to take orders. You will respect me, and you will acknowledge me. And honestly, man, Roman is on another level right now when it comes to these promos. Like, every single thing that comes out of his mouth, I'm like, man, like, this guy's legit. And he talks about how, he's like, if you can't beat me, you're out. And he's like, your brother's out too. Your wives are out. Your children are out because you're out of the family.
He's kicking them out of the family, which means they can't be The Rock's cousins anymore, which is horrible.
Exactly.
Horrible.
Poor them. What are
I
they
would
not
do? Wish that on my greatest enemy.
I did not even think about that. That was so funny.
Evil, but it's like 9:55 here, and the show clearly wants to end, but it can't because it's not 10 o'clock yet. So the cell starts to lower, and it's just awkward. And then Jay climbs the cell halfway and looks at Roman, and they stare at each other, and then just it's 10 o'clock. Okay, we can pack it up.
Pack it up, boys. We did it.
They ended that a little bit too early. It was nice to see Jey Uso come out on top here, but as you said, law of reverse momentum, he's gonna get destroyed on Sunday.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So that was our recap for SmackDown. I think SmackDown again, it started on a high. It was kind of like a roller coaster in the sense that I don't think that nothing was really bad about it, but I think that the commercials were kind of put in just these odd places, and it kind of took me out of some of the action. I personally really enjoyed the 8-man tag match, and I really enjoyed Seth Rollins versus Murphy. It's really, really great to see Bianca Belair, and I am so surprised that I enjoyed Law and Otis so much. And I can't wait for Roman Reigns to just destroy Jey Uso. As much as I want Jey Uso to win, I think that Roman Reigns is going to kill him.
Oh, absolutely. This episode had some very good moments, but some pretty mediocre ones. Law and Otis is amazing. Reminded me of Fashion Files. Probably the saving grace. The commercials were brutal, like you said. Our best match was Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy, and it was really good. But it was split up with 2 commercials between it, which made it very difficult to engage with.
You're so right. Yeah.
Don't care about Lars Sullivan. The only good thing that happened was that we got Chad Gable back. And hopefully that remains a thing. The tease for the IC title, Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan, also Daniel Bryan teaming with KO, that is very interesting. The final segment was all right. It wasn't anything crazy. And we had a decent tag team match to open, and we got to see Bianca Belair. Yeah. Overall, solid. But there was the matches were aside from the main event, they were okay.
Yeah, like I don't want the people to think that we're being really hard on SmackDown. For me, the show was a solid 8. It's just that the thing is that like the one feud, like the one match that was really really good, that feud was going on for months on Raw, and now they're bringing it on SmackDown. I really don't care for the whole Rollins Mysterio family and Buddy Murphy stuff, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was bad. But I just think that like they can move on and do different things. Instead of giving Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan like a short 1 minute backstage segment, maybe you can kind of give them more, give Kevin Owens a bit more and kind of move on for this whole Mysterio family and Seth Rollins stuff. But again, like for me, if I had to kind of put a number to it, for me it was a solid 8. Like I definitely enjoyed SmackDown much more than I did Monday Night Raw, for example.
Yeah, SmackDown was better. Although it ended too early, whereas Raw ended too late. We didn't even get to see what happened at the end of Raw.
Yeah, pretty much.
I did enjoy this go home. It did feel like a go home. It set up a match. It clearly gave us the 2 final chapters before their matches with Bayley and Sasha and Roman and Jey. So overall, good stuff. I wonder if they'll do some tag team shenanigans at the last minute and add a pre-show match. I don't know. Maybe that was just whatever. But the 2 best matches that SmackDown is promoting for this pay-per-view got exactly what they needed.
Absolutely.
Whereas Raw kind of just gave us Drew McIntyre and Orton, and everything else was kind of like thrown together with Jeff and Elias. So it really did feel more like a go-home episode and was definitely better than Raw this week.
And this is where we're going to end our video. I think that you said exactly what I wanted to say. God, you are so brilliant. If you guys do enjoy our content,
tear to my eye,
make sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube, and you'll find all the information in the description box below, where to find us on social media and where to listen to us in audio format. And stay tuned for our Hell in a Cell recap, which will be uploaded this weekend. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
The burning question for me is, Daniel Bryan came out in a suit for the KO show. He didn't know, like they didn't tell him like you're gonna be in a match. Like he's really keeping kayfabe alive with that. Like he wasn't even in the match at the beginning. Like I'm like, where's Daniel Bryan? He was wearing a suit before. Then like they say, oh no, he had to go get his wrestling gear. Good thing he came prepared.
That's it. That's exactly what Corey Graves said. But Daniel Bryan, come on, man. Like he's just very smart, right? He's B+.
I would imagine that. Yeah, I would imagine that he's wearing his wrestling gear under his suit, and he just had to like rip his pants, Angel Garza style. But I could be wrong.